The desert had taught Caleb Hart one rule above all others: never follow a sound you don't understand. In the Wild West, curiosity got men buried without crosses. Yet when the whisper drifted through the canyon like a wounded breath, his horse stopped on its own, ears twitching, hooves refusing to move. The sun was sinking low, painting the red rocks with fire, and the sound came again, soft, urgent, trembling. "Cowboy, don't look." Caleb dismounted slowly, hand hovering near his revolver, heart pounding not from fear, but from something stranger. He followed the sound to a narrow pass where water spilled down a hidden cliff. A waterfall secreted away like a confession. Behind the falling silver veil stood a woman, Apache by her dark braided hair and proud. Stillness, her back turned, shoulders tense, voice barely holding together. She told him her name was Naya, and that the river had stolen her dress downstream while she crossed in secret. Caleb turned away at once, facing the canyon wall, because some lines weren't drawn by law but by honor. As he stood there, back turned, bullets cracked against stone. Raiders, white men, drunk on cruelty, had tracked her. Caleb didn't think, he moved. In seconds, the quiet canyon became thunder. When the dust settled, the raiders fled, leaving silence and the sound of falling water. Caleb tore his spare shirt into a cloak and set it on a rock without turning around. Naya's hands shook as she took it. She told him she was being hunted, not just by raiders, but by the past. Her people were scattered, her father killed for refusing to sell sacred land, and the world beyond the canyon wanted her erased. Caleb had lost too, his ranch burned, his family buried, his name marked by men who wanted him dead. Two broken paths crossed behind a waterfall where no one was supposed to be. As night fell, they sat apart by the fire, bound by silence and something unspoken. Caleb realized then that the West didn't just test a man with guns. It tested him with choices. And choosing to protect her meant choosing a war he might not survive. If this story grips your heart so far, pause here. Subscribe to the channel. Every legend needs a witness. By dawn, the canyon had learned their secret. Smoke curled where it shouldn't, and Caleb knew riders would come. Naya stood tall now, wrapped in borrowed cloth but carrying the strength of her ancestors in her spine. She told Caleb the truth. She was the last keeper of a map carved into memory, not paper, leading to land her people believed could never be taken. The men hunting her didn't want her body, they wanted what she knew. Together they rode hard across mesas and dry riverbeds, chased by shadows and whispers. Along the way, Caleb taught her the ways of the gun. Not to kill, but to stand unafraid. Naya taught him the language of the land, how stones remembered footsteps, how wind carried warnings. At night, they spoke of loss without naming it. And trust grew not from touch, but from survival. When the hunters finally cornered them at an abandoned mission, Caleb stood alone in the doorway, facing men who knew his name and wanted his head. Naya could have fled. Instead, she stood beside him. The battle was brutal, fast, final. When it ended, the mission bells rang from a broken rope, echoing like judgment. Caleb was wounded, bleeding into the dust, and Naya knelt beside him, pressing her hands to his chest, whispering prayers older than the West itself. He survived, but the world they returned to had changed. Caleb gave up his ranch claim and rode with Naya to the edge of Apache land, where he stopped. Some roads could only be walked by one. She thanked him not with tears, but with a look that carried forever. As she turned away, Caleb understood. Love in the Wild West wasn't about possession. It was about protection, sacrifice, and knowing when to let go. Years later, travelers would speak of a hidden waterfall where a cowboy once turned his back to do the right thing, and in doing so became a legend. If you believe stories like this deserve to live on, subscribe now. The West still whispers, and this channel brings its secrets too. Lifetime did not soften the West, it sharpened it. Seasons passed like gunshots, quick and final. Yet the canyon where the waterfall sang never forgot what had happened there. Caleb Hart rode alone now, a man shaped by choices that never stopped echoing. He had tried settling north, tried silence, tried forgetting, but the land itself kept turning him south, back toward Red Rock and memory. Word traveled slow but sure in the Wild West, and whispers reached him of a woman seen guiding her people through hidden passes. A leader who spoke to the earth as if it answered. They said she wore strength like a second, Skin and carried the calm of storms already survived. Caleb didn't need a name to know it was Naya. The trouble found him before he found her. Railroad men, polished boots, empty smiles, were cutting through Apache land with maps drawn in bloodless offices. They wanted signatures, surrender, silence, and when they didn't get them, they sent guns. Caleb arrived at the edge of the valley just as smoke rose where no smoke should. He dismounted and climbed high, watching riders close in on a caravan below, families, elders, children, moving fast but boxed in by cliffs. At their center stood Naya, taller than the danger around her, voice steady as she gave orders. Caleb felt the old pull, not of desire, but of duty. Some promises were never spoken out loud, yet they bound tighter than vows. He rode straight into the storm. Gunfire shattered the air, sharp and merciless. Caleb took the high ground, using distance like a blade, forcing the attackers to scatter. Naya saw him then. Their eyes met across chaos, and in that single glance lived everything they had never said. There was no reunion, no pause for words, only movement, only survival. The Apache fighters regrouped with precision learned from loss, not training manuals. When it ended, the railroad men fled, leaving the valley breathing again. Night fell heavy. Fires burned low. Naya approached Caleb at last. No rush, no tears, just truth. She told him the elders had chosen a new path, hidden land, protected by memory and sacrifice. She would lead them there by dawn. The West was changing, she said, and not for the better. Caleb nodded. He already knew. He offered to ride escort. She refused gently. This road was theirs alone. They walked to the edge of the Waterfall canyon one final time. Moonlight turned the falling water to silver. Naya spoke of the day they met, of how a single act of honor had changed the course of her life. Caleb said little. Some men talked to feel important, others listened to understand. She placed a small token in his palm, a carved stone, marked with symbols only the land could read. So you remember, she said, and so the land remembers you. At dawn, the Apache caravan vanished into the folds of the earth, guided by a woman who carried both past and future in her stride. Caleb watched until even dust forgot them. Then he turned north, alone but not empty. Legends don't always end with applause. Sometimes they end with a man riding on, carrying a promise the canyon will never forget.